everybody. Excellent. Thank you so much for being here this morning. Really appreciate it. I am Summer Gathercole. I'm helping to facilitate today's event. And I want to point out this is part 2 of a series called Innovative Work Incentive Practices. And so what we're really trying to do throughout this series is to share kinds of supports and incentives that employers can offer, especially to their frontline workforce, to help support them and make sure that they have what they need in order to really be successful and have a talent that feels good about the work that they're doing in the company that they're working for. And we're really trying to identify kind of the easy to implement, not expensive types of different kind of unique workforce incentives that are out there. So today we're focusing on the Denver metro area, and we'll be learning about some of the resources that are available in this region. I think it's important to point out that we are simultaneously broadcasting today's event as a webinar as well. So kind of keep that in mind. It is a live recording, and we'll get into that in a few minutes. So I just want to point out who's in the room with us today. We have a number of really fantastic presenters. We're really excited, and I want to thank all the presenters for being here today. We also have a mix of employers that are in the room, and we're grateful for you for taking the time to be here today. We have a number of handouts for those of you in the room. There's a table in the back of the room, a resource table that we want to encourage you to make sure that you stop by before you leave today. And those of you who are online via the webinar, there is a room that you should have in your waiting room before we got started. You should have had access to all of those resources. I also want to point out that for those of you who have questions, we are going to, for those in the room, we're going to ask you to hold those questions until the end of today's session, just because this is a webinar. It'll be really difficult for those online to hear you in the room. And for those of you who are online in the webinar, I want to ask you to put your questions in the chat box, and then I'll follow up with you directly after today's meeting to make sure that you are connected to the right person. For those of you who are in the room, hopefully on your way in, you also picked up a one-page kind of resource sheet. This is a sneak peek as to what are we going to be hearing and who are we going to be hearing from today. You'll see that the second to the last column is available for you to take some tiny notes if you have tiny handwriting. So definitely want to encourage you to do that so you can capture all the information that's shared today. And for those of you who are on the webinar, you should have had access to the resource sheet in the waiting room as well. And so again, I want to thank the presenters for taking the time to be here today. As a reminder, when you have 30 seconds left, I'll be in the corner raising the red flag so that you know that your time is almost up. And then if you don't wrap up, I'll be joining you here at the podium and gently nudging you to introduce the next person, hint, hint. And I also just want to point out as a final reminder that because this is a live stream webinar, I want to ask you to keep as much of the movement as possible to a minimum so we don't have as much noise in the room. That also goes for coughing, sneezing. So now that I've said that, get it all out of your system now. And again, just want to thank you all for being here today. With that, I'm really excited and happy to introduce Lydia Romero, who is the founder and executive director of WorkLife Partnership.
I love this. So Lydia Romero, Executive Director and founder of WorkLife Partnership. A lot of you are my friends, so thank you for being here, friends, and colleagues in this workforce world. So I'm going to keep it very short. I think it's very exciting that this is part of a, again, series of 12 webinars that we call the Innovative Work Practice Work. And your presentation will live in perpetuity online, so make sure it's good. We'll definitely have all the LinkedIn invites as well so that you can forward on to your network if that's appropriate. So I'm going to get started and introduce Victor from Community College of Aurora. Time starts now. Thank you.
Morning, everybody. My name is Victor Villalpando, and I am the Dean of Academic Affairs for the Community College of Aurora. One of my primary is to oversee all of our current technical education programs. So our programs that link directly back to big opportunities that we had, to my surprise, the opportunity to implement. I mean, this past July was a U.S. Department of Labor grant, specifically focusing on three key industries. We're partnering with the Community College of Denver as one of our academic partners, but our three key industries that we're working with are healthcare, IT tech and support, and advanced manufacturing. And we're really looking at focusing on a student population where one of the barriers is childcare as a primary hurdle to completion of their academic credential. So we received a $4 million grant to focus on this particular population for the Denver metro area and really get them to entry-level positions within those three sectors. Work with them not only while they're in college to provide some of those resources at the institution to eliminate issues around success. So we have achievement coaches working with them. We have career advisors working with these folks. We also have partnered with WorkLife Partner and a number of different organizations as well to follow them once they leave our institution and get them placed into employment. So a key component of it is also looking at where do we place them, how do we place them, and how do we enter them in a position which allows them for a career path within that sector. But the grant in of itself provides financial resources for students. It offsets costs for childcare. It covers tuition, all the other components associated with their programming while the college as well. Certificates range in length from a 10-week CNA program, certified nursing program, to a 2-semester IT tech and support certificate as well. So it just varies on the student's interest in a particular area. And although for that particular grant, we're focusing on those three sectors, as an institution, we really have a focus on being able to provide and link our industry partners to academic credentials and provide a workforce and to train a workforce for that particular group. So it varies across the board for anything that we could do. And we're also looking at being able to be very customizable for our folks as well. So working with industry partners, if you need a specific skill set, a specific timeline, or if we also want to be able to offer the courses at your institution or at your place of business, we're flexible to be able to do that as well. Those are the primary, I don't know if I'll take the full 5 minutes to be able to describe the program, but those are the primary goals that we're working with. We have worked with some great partners. We're actually working with Christian Living Communities and developing a specific cohort of CNA training for them at their site. As well. So I know, Jan, if you have any questions on how that's working, I know Jan or I could field those questions for you as well. But we have 2 campuses, located one at the Lowry Air Force Base off of 6th and Dayton, and the other one in the heart of Aurora off of 6th and Chambers as well. So I will be in the back of the room at the end of the session. If you have any questions, concerns, or need some additional information, come find me and we can chat in more depth.
Hello, my name is Wen Hua. I'm with the Colorado Workforce Development Council. I'm happy to be here today and share with you a few programs that we're working on that I think might be relevant for you. So to give you a little background, the vision of the Colorado Workforce Development Council is that every Colorado business has access to a skilled workforce and that every Coloradoan has access to meaningful employment, resulting in statewide economic vitality. Our mission is to facilitate the creation and sustainability of a business-led talent development system that appropriately integrates the work of economic development, education, training, workforce development to meet the needs of business workers, seekers, and students. So today, the 3 things I'm going to talk about are sector strategy, career pathways, and work-based learning. So to start with sector strategies, these are business-led groups. So there are many places that industry-led development initiatives and programs are being worked on today. If you want to sit at the table with businesses that are like you, that are interested in helping set workforce development agenda, you could belong to a regional sector partnership. You could belong to a trade association, a workforce development board, an academic advisory council, an economic development board, a nonprofit community organization, a for-profit business focused in this area. So there's no shortage of places for businesses to get involved in setting the workforce development agenda. But today I'm going to talk a little bit about a sector partnership. It's been in the works for about 4 years across Colorado. There are over 20 of them active today. You've got about 450 businesses involved in those sector partnerships. And so they're across all of the 14 economic regions of Colorado. And today they span, I think, about 6 different industries. So IT, manufacturing, healthcare, tourism and outdoor rec, energy, retail, and finance is just about to launch. So if you want to learn more about that, it's at sectorsummit.com, and you can contact, you have my contact information, and I can send that to you. The second work that we're doing is around career pathways, and we say systems building. So a piece of legislation was passed a couple years ago that asked for us to help organize some very fundamental information on career pathway programs that exist in Colorado today. So to date, we've done IT, manufacturing. We're in process right now for healthcare and construction, and we haven't yet decided the 2 clusters that we'll work on next year. But again, this is a process of gathering information on not only what are the top jobs, and a top job is a growing job and a job that has a livable wage. You can find all the top job information on Colorado's Talent Pipeline Report, which you can go and download today. And so what we do is we work with employers and ask them, hey, these are top jobs, but what are really critical? So then they go through a process of saying, what's critical? Why is it critical? Is it high turnover? Is there a lack of a program? Are there a lack of interested students? So once we have a sense of what's critical in the market, then we really work hard to make sure we understand the competencies required. We make sure that all education providers, training providers can have a sense of that information, and really it's an alignment activity to help hopefully get all of our resources pointed on not just top jobs, but critical jobs that are happening. If you're interested in that, you can find information about that on careersincolorado.com. And then finally, I wanted to share a little bit about work-based learning. You're going to hear a little bit later from Careerwise. They are a work-based learning program. But right now we're talking about work-based learning in 4 ways. Career awareness, and that would be like offering worksite tours or career fairs or career presentations to students. So just at the beginning of opening up their awareness. The next is career preparation, getting a little bit deeper into really getting pointed into a career, so clinical experiences, internships, extended learning, instructional worksite learning. The next is career exploration, so job shadowing or having a mentor. The career counseling that we're working so hard across the state to really up-level and upskill and extend. And then also just work-based problems and solving in the classroom and mentoring for competitions or events or projects. And finally, with career training and education being seen as kind of the last phase and closest to getting work, which is on-the-job training, or youth apprenticeships that are occupation-focused, or pre-apprenticeship programs, or adult registered apprenticeships that are very job-focused. So those are the 3 things that are happening. There's just a lot of great activity. It's across the state, across industry. So if you want to learn more, you do have my contact information. And thank you. And up next, it's my pleasure to introduce Damon McIntyre of the Denver Housing Authority.
Excuse me. Thank you, Wendy. Hi, I'm Damon McIntyre. I am the Supervisor of Education and Employment Services at Denver Housing Authority. So I'm going to go ahead and just jump right in because we have a lot of ground to cover here in about 5 minutes. So currently, Denver Housing Authority Education and Employment Services manages a community service block grant program called Academies to Work. We also have a community development block grant program called Academies to Work West, which will cover West Colfax, Westwood, and the Sun Valley neighborhoods. So we do have a couple of place-based programs, and our star place-based program currently is Jobs Plus program. Is funded through HUD at Quig Newton. That program is available only to Quig Newton public housing residents, but it is where I would like to see the entire education and employment program to head, which is a full service employment program, meaning these individuals, it's a $2.5 million grant roughly, and it covers complete child care, complete transportation mitigation for 4 years. It also has an earned income disregard for those residents. So as they move up the career ladder, they will be able to hold on to more of that money to become more self-sufficient. We've worked with Quick Newton Family Counseling and the Denver Police Department to provide domestic violence seminars, because in the Sunnyside neighborhood there was a bit of that going on, and we want to stabilize not just their work life, right, but their home life as well, as best as we can. So the other programs that we have that we manage are the Section 3 program from HUD. That's where any project that is touched by HUD dollars, they will engage our offices to set up training and employment opportunities for low-income individuals that attend those sites. We also manage Denver Urban Renewal Authority's First Source Employment Program. So these are renewal areas throughout the Denver metropolitan area that are receiving tax incremental funding. Those firms, those developers and property managers are also required to contact us with any education and employment opportunities they may have. So to kind of get to the meat of the program, we offer academies. A lot of the program is stemmed around these academies, and it kind of links everything together. We offer academies in OED, Office of Economic Development, in Denver, identified growth industries, which include, which we've heard a few of them this morning. We offer both entry-level and middle skills academies in healthcare, customer service, culinary arts through the Osage Cafe, and business support services. And they all have industry-recognized certifications. In healthcare, it's going to be your basic life support entry level. Our middle skills academy will be the Certified Medical Administrative Assistant. And customer service, we work with the National Retail Federation to do customer service certification and then a retail management certificate. In business support services, we have a digital readiness certificate that people can get at sort of entry level, and then once they pass that, they are now admitted into the Microsoft Office Specialist Academies. And then in culinary arts, we offer the ServSafe, and then in the Advanced or Middle Skills Academy, we'll get their TIPS certification. These are all certifications that industries are looking for in the Denver area. And then at graduation, most of our academies run about 2 to 3 weeks. We set it up for the single parent, so they don't have to be there until about 10 in the morning. They get about 2 in the afternoon, and then they attain their industry recognized certification. And at graduation, we line up our employer partnership to come in and hire people, and they tend to do that right at graduation. So we're very pleased about that. In fact, this last customer service academy we had at, I believe we held it out at Westwood. Yeah, poor Rich, our instructor, Richard Class, this class to employers that were coming in to speak. So that's the direction we want to head. But yeah, we're here to service the whole person, and in terms of their employment and education journey. I did not mention everything else that we do, but I will be here. Please contact me with any questions. And now I would like to introduce Kylie Fredrickson with Best for Colorado.
Hi there, good morning. So I am an outreach intern here at WorkLife Partnership, but I will be speaking about Best for Colorado and our partnership with Best for Colorado. So for those of you that don't know, Best for Colorado is under the umbrella of B Corporations. So that's B Corporations that believe in business as a force for good. And so they did a Best For campaign in New York where businesses would complete an assessment, and after completing the assessment, receive some impact measures and areas for improvement. So looking at the job sector here in Colorado, they thought this is a good place for us to start a new Best For campaign. So that's a little bit of the history of it, and really it focuses on 3 things. It focuses on what is the best for our workers, what is the best for our community, and what is the best for our environment. So those are the 3 things that it focuses on. And it's really a historic time, because I think if we look at Colorado, we can see there's a lot of business growing here, and all of us are committed to that. And so this assessment really provides businesses with the tools they need to see how are they excelling in these areas and where do they need to improve. So that's where WorkLife comes in, because we already are caring so much for the employees at these work sites that we partner with. And so we want to be involved with Best for Colorado because we want to highlight what our businesses are doing well, and say that you already are caring for your workers in this area, but also to be able to provide some impact improvements. So it makes sense for us to offer this as a resource for our employers. And so that's why we want to say take the challenge for Best for Colorado. So what that means is taking the assessment that will show you what you're doing well, and also really highlight where you can be improving. And that's where WorkLife wants to come in and say, how can we partner with you? And it gives you an opportunity to show the rest of Colorado what you're doing well. So the way to become involved in this would be to take the assessment. So if you're interested, I will be actually kind of channeling all of our business partners that are wanting to take the assessment. And we would just go to the Best for Colorado website and kind of look through, and it takes about 30 minutes. And you can see kind of where you measure all of these, and then compete to become the Best for Colorado. So that's Best for Colorado. And with that, I'd like to introduce Ebony Transo from Careerwise.
Good morning. Careerwise Colorado seeks to address the skilled worker shortage that's happening in America and in Colorado, to be specific. That started in the past year by Noel Ginsberg. He's a local business owner, and he actually owns a plastics manufacturer. He was having problems finding people that were skilled in the workplace, and he had to recruiting people from other states and paying for their travel expenses and different things like that. So he wanted to solve this problem. What he did was he went to Switzerland problem in the manufacturing field, but actually found that in Switzerland, 70% of the workforce actually started their career in an apprenticeship, and that they also offer apprenticeships in over 230 fields. And so what he did was he came back and he built a cohort of including the governor, many people from government, nonprofits, education, and even business leaders. Wendy was actually a part of that cohort from CWDC. And they actually went and they toured, talked to businesses, talked to different apprentices, and decided that they wanted to bring that here to Colorado. So everybody in that cohort decided that they were going to either give funding or expertise or help with policy in order to make this work. So that resulted in Careerwise Colorado, which is a 3-year apprenticeship program. Right now, we started in 4 growth industries, which includes advanced manufacturing, information technology, financial services, and business operations. At the end of this 3-year apprenticeship, the high school student, by then they will be out of high school, but they will have a high school diploma, a certificate in their field that's valuable in that field, and college credit toward a degree, in addition to 3 years of work experience to put onto their resume. The school districts that we work with right now include Denver Public Schools, Cherry Creek School Districts, Mesa 51, Colorado Early Colleges in Fort Collins, and also the high school, the STEM high school in Highlands Ranch. The thing that is very unique about this system is that it's business-led. And so the businesses that have decided to take apprentices have worked with us over the past year to build the competencies that these students will be learning over their apprenticeship. These competencies don't just have to do with what they're going to be doing on the job, but also the skills that they need to be successful, such as critical thinking, problem solving, and different things like that. Not only do they help to build these competencies, they also help us to find actual training centers, whether they be community colleges or different schools around the area that can help us train these students in things that are relevant to the workplace now. The different benefits that would result in this program include, for businesses, it would include a loyal workforce, increased retention, possibly increased diversity, a return on their investment because they're actually going to be able to pay these students a training wage. For the students, they'll be able to have valuable work experience, credentials to earn a living wage, and also possible tuition reimbursement for the rest of their degree, having worked already in a workplace for a couple of years. For schools, this is an extension of their career exploration, and they're able to get students into real-world opportunities that can help improve their lives. And for, well, I I just named all of the benefits for everyone. But what I do there is I'm a relationship manager and I help to implement the program. So I go to all the businesses and I help them to build their training plan and put those competencies into an actual plan where they decide who, what, and when those competencies will be trained. We determine, when these people, whether they can be trained on site or whether they need to be trained at a training center for certain competencies. And then we also I help them with their job postings, and we post those on the marketplace. The districts, we work with them, and we talk to the teachers and talk to parents and talk to students and explain what opportunities are available. And we also help with interviewing, or as much help as the business needs in order to successfully bring these apprentices on. Once the apprenticeship starts, then I'll be someone that comes up and makes sure that everything is going well with the students and with the kids, with the students and the businesses. If you're interested, or if you know of any company that may be able to offer these apprenticeships, I have some information in the back and I'll be here. And without further ado, I will introduce Lorena Zimmer, and she is with the Denver Opportunity Youth Initiative.
Good morning again, right smack dab in the middle of the agenda. I remind you that we are here to connect businesses to all the workforce initiatives. So my name is Lorena Zimmer. I'm with the Denver Metro Chamber of Commerce and oversee the Opportunity Youth Initiative. Opportunity Youth are young adults 16 to 24 that are not engaged in school or work. We're one of 22 funded sites by the Institute. This is something that is recognized under the Obama administration as a group or a population that was left behind after the last recession. So all of the 22 funded sites, but specifically here in Colorado, we're working to re-engage these youth back in the school of work. So we're working on the whole talent pipeline piece. Some of you might ask, why did the chamber take this? With knowing that 74% of jobs in Colorado will require some sort of post-secondary degree in the next 10 years. And that means all of the initiatives, such as Careerwise, Opportunity Youth Initiative, working to bring all of our population up to speed. So to re-engage these youth back in the school or work, we fund several different pieces of the talent pipeline. So we fund a career coach at the Emily Griffith GD Plus program. We fund a community coach or a workforce coach also out in the community, taking referrals from nonprofits that may not do workforce work, or nonprofits where the young adult might age out of the system there. And then we also partner, for example, with WorkLife Partnership to provide supports even after employment. So we want to make sure that the match eventually into these good jobs is successful. With 3% unemployment also in the Denver metro area, we know that we have to work with employers and they're willing to work with us. So we advocate to ensure that opportunities are open for opportunity youth across the metro area for training and into good jobs. We're recently just talking with Careerwise, for example, to make sure that not only is the system within the K-12 or within high schools, but how can we also start delivering to the employers sooner, or youth that might already have age requirements or a GED but have not completed a post-secondary degree into these opportunities. We make sure that Opportunity Youth also have the training and supports through many different ways. All of this is also informed from the youth perspective and the business perspective of what they need. So I'm going to go short. I have materials in the back. Thank you very much. Oh, sorry. And I'm here to introduce Peter. Yes? I lost my sheet. David. And David spent time in Africa, but he is also with Epic. Thank you, David.
Hi, everyone. My name is David Shapiro. I'm the Business Relations Manager at EPIC, which stands for Executives Partnering to Invest in Children. We're honored to be a part of all of the tremendous work going on to support both employees and employers. So thank you, Liddy, for inviting us and having us present with all of you wonderful programs today. I think if I was to have you take away one thing based on my presentation, it would be go to FamilyFriendlyColorado.com. So we're trying to advertise that website as a resource for your businesses. I'll probably mention FamilyFriendlyColorado.com multiple times in my 5 minutes, encouraging you to go there at your convenience to learn more about the work that we're doing. EPIC is an organization of 73 executive level members that are all elevating the importance of early childhood. And by early childhood, we mean birth to age 8 in Colorado. And we've decided to take an approach of a 2-generation support strategy, which would be using employers as an undeveloped pipeline to children and families. A lot of us are able to get materials and resources through schools, through the government, through various safety net subsidy programming as supports. EPIC's take is that the employer can do a good job giving information to their employees about how to be better caregivers and ultimately support children and families. We partnered in 2016 and 2017 with this Colorado School of Public Health, HealthLinks, they're in the room here today as well, and the Colorado's Department of Public Health and Environment to launch FamilyFriendlyColorado.com. And there are multiple assets that are available on that website. The one I want to speak to you about today is a 10-minute assessment that you can do as an employer to get a recognition or a certification of how family-friendly your business is. What we're trying to do is find out best practices. Family-friendly can be broken down to talking about flexible workplace strategies, telework, offsetting core hours with other scheduling requests for employees. Oftentimes, folks will talk about paid leave and paid parental leave programs as a significant component of family-friendly workplaces. There are also supports such as dependent care or elder care that we're looking at in partnership with WorkLife Partnership, how to address those needs of your employees, and lactation and breastfeeding support, something that's a part of FMLA, but how it's translated to the workplace. We have 4 phases of the family-friendly assessment work. We've completed phases 1 and are launching phase 2/3 today here at this presentation. Phase 1 was convening a group of subject matter experts to inform the assessment itself. So we're confident that it's pretty unbiased. It's been through various channels nationally and through a lot of different lenses of academia and other corporate partners to make sure that we're assessing the right information. It only takes about 10 minutes if you have an HR background to fill it out. Our partner in that work was the School of Public Health, but we did convene a pretty broad group of subject matter experts in the metro area to populate the assessment itself. Second phase, which launched this week or launched today or yesterday, is an online digital dashboard. So when you fill out the assessment, you will immediately get a report card and access to an online dashboard of where you rank and how you're doing in terms of family friendliness at your place of work. Phase 3, which this presentation and another one I did yesterday are launching, is the community outreach piece. We're trying to get as many businesses as possible, as many employers as possible to fill out the assessment. We want to get a really good baseline of what employers in Colorado are doing. And we want to start sharing best practices. So what we've determined is everyone will get a family-friendly score or a family-friendly certification from filling out the assessment. Not everyone will score as high as some of our early adopters that are really doing a lot of work in this category. But what we're able to do is use the companies that are getting very high scores and utilize them as mentors to companies that want to learn more. So filling out the assessment will get you access to resources, trainings, a network of like-minded businesses that are also investing in family-friendly work, and also some outreach to companies that are probably leaders in the field to hear more about what they're doing and how they're doing it. So we understand that it's a process, and we understand that most employers want to get from A to Z, but may not know exactly how to do that. And so we're trying to help them along the way in terms of improving their family friendliness. The last piece I mentioned, the phase 4 of the work, is the training and resources piece that we're going to partner with a whole host of advisors. I'm sure all of you intuitively understand the importance of supporting employees that are going through various childcare or dependent care needs. What we're hoping to do is hear more from you about how you are family friendly and what family friendly means to you and your place of work, and share those best practices with as many companies as we can to increase competition and create the healthiest state possible for the children and families of Colorado. I am going to introduce Helen Gibson of the Denver Community Credit Union, and thanks again for our time today.
Hello and good morning. I first want to start by thanking both Lydia and Mary for having Denver Community Credit Union here today. I know some of you in the room. I've worked with some of you for many years, but some of you are brand new to me. So I want to start by saying, well, why throw a credit union up here in front of employers? What do we do? First, Denver Community Credit Union was started over 80 years ago. We were started in 1934 by the city and county employees of Denver for the city and county of employees of Denver. So that's where we came from. We came from working very closely with employees to create a financial organization that was not for profit, but kind of like a club where you all join in and you figure out how to serve each other. So that's our kind of origin story of where we come from. But then how do we end up here, right? How did this happen today? And first, I want to tell you a little bit about our vision. Our vision as an organization is to advance financial opportunity. That is agreed upon from the highest level all the way down. We're very passionate about our brand, and we plan to do it through education, through delivering excellent service, and then helping our members achieve things like home ownership. Now, when it comes to employment, many of you know that if your employee is worried about their finances, they are spending their time on their finances at work. Well, if they're spending their time on their finances at work, or they're worried or stressed about their personal lives, they are not doing everything you want them to do. So we walked in and we've created this program that I'm going to talk about today to help with that issue. And we didn't create it just all by ourselves. It actually came out of a big think tank, Filene, which is a credit union think tank. And they've already started it in many areas of the country. And Denver Community just signed on our first organization to this program, and it has 3,000 employees this week. So it's a very exciting program, and I can't wait to expand it. Basically, we already covered the problem, right? There are financial issues out there. I don't know if you've heard this stat before, so if you have, don't worry, I'm going to say it again. But if an employee is not banked, they're spending at least $40,000 in their lifetime running around, going to each place, paying their bills, money orders, check cashing, bad prepaid debit cards are out there. They're spending that money on those things. And I actually did some research on my own. If you walk into a payday lender in Colorado, it is better than walking into a payday lender in other states, because some of our legislators have worked hard to make sure. But let's say someone goes in for a $500 loan to a payday lender. What is your guess for what they'll spend in fees and interest? $100 on the $500? $200? I did the math and put it at $297. Okay, so $500 loan, and it's costing them about $300. So if that's your employee, do you know what they're doing? They're paying the loan with another one of those loans, and then they get stuck. And then maybe they can't get it from that one, so then they go to another one. So now they have two of them, and they keep going and going and going. So this program is aimed to prevent that. You can't stop everything. Everyone has freedom of choice, but we're trying to prevent that, because that in the end helps employees and helps with our vision of advancing financial opportunity. So how does our program work? Well, in the case of the employer we just signed on, they had a situation where They did not want to be doing multiple 401, their A's, but multiple loans against their retirement funds every year. So they say, let's bring you in to try to stop this cycle. So we sit down with the employer and design the program. We talk about which employees we're going to target, how we're going to work with them, and the human resource department of the organization is who the employee applies with. Because that employee needs to meet certain guidelines. One is that they've been employed for 6 months. Another is that they're and it depends on the organization what they call it, but corrective actions. Well, we don't want someone who's about to be, let go to enter into the program, basically. So the employee applies with the employer, and they fill out the application, and at that point, the employer recommends the program to them. And I got my 30-second flag, so I'm going to have to hurry. So once they apply to them, they come to us. We help them, we educate, and we walk them through the process to try to prevent the cycle. And I've got success stories that I've done. We've got lots of other things Denver Community Credit Union can provide, but that's the loan program. So thank you again to Mary and Liddy, and I hope you enjoy our next speaker, who is Kate Ridings, who's talking about Upskill Work-Life Partnership.
Good morning, everyone. I am really excited to be here because, as everybody has also maybe heard, we've added a new service to WorkLife Partnership, which we are calling the Upskilling Department. Obviously, we have been reading everything that you have been reading as well within workforce and stabilizing your employees, and we wanted to take that spectrum that we have from our niche in working with employers on retention, stabilization of their workforce, and look at what we could add as far as additional services that they would be interested in using and would be a benefit to them. We do not want to obviously duplicate any of the work that is already being done by these programs that we've heard from this morning, who are doing successful work in training and prepping their clients for application to jobs. Where we're coming in with the Upskill Department is really looking at those underemployed workers who are currently working but not at self-sufficiency wages, maybe still using some supportive resources, might still be enrolled within TANF, and might also still need some assistance with transportation and childcare. What I really want to focus on today, though, is our aspect that we're still keeping the employer as our customer. We're still looking at how we can work with that employer to identify their needs and come in and not add, duplicative services. So the exciting aspect that we have currently through Upskill Department, and we have a couple employers in the room who've already tested this out, which is exciting, is we're using an online assessment, and as obviously the theme of today is assessments, how can they help our work? What are we using them for? What do they actually do, right? From our perspective at WorkLife Partnership, we're clearly data-driven. We like to demonstrate that we're not just coming in and talking about feelings and emotions and developing culture in a vacuum, as my phrase always goes. And that's more to do with actually working with the employers on a customized idea of what their values are, what they're looking for in an employee, and how they can recruit and demonstrate that internally. So we're going to be utilizing a system that's called Parent. It's an online assessment that actually helps the employer understand the behavioral attributes of their workforce. It also helps them to understand their core values as an employer. It can help internally as well as externally. To give you an idea, we're working with a health company currently, SalesC, who's in the room, who has identified a need in helping develop a pathway internally for service and cleaning workers to move upwards into more CNA, higher level paying jobs for those that are already motivated, right? So we go in and we can work with those employers directly to identify where are those gaps, maybe those pain points that you're missing, where are those different skills that we can help bring in, maybe it's hard skill credential training, or maybe it's really working with our upskill coach directly, internally, who will be working with your target community to coach them. There are a lot of better visuals that help align this because it's moving and there are a lot of moving parts associated with it. But I think the thing that I want employers to take away from today is that it's customizable and it has to do with your target employees, right? You all have your high performers. You all have people that you say, I wish I could hire 100 of these people. That's great. That's what we'll use to map and measure and align new candidates and internal candidates to those positions as well. So essentially, we work with surveying behaviors of candidates and measuring them. The thing that's very exciting is we can use actual job descriptions, or we can look at just the soft skill component, because we're not, as I said, trying to duplicate the services that are being provided through CCDs and the CCAs, community colleges, their different training programs. We're trying to help the client internally understand how to develop their own skills. So we're excited to offer everything for the employer that we can develop through these community relationships, but we're also more focused on how we can help work with them internally to develop their employees who are underemployed, wanting to move up, retain the motivated, have that buy-in, and really develop that internal culture that in the overall will be beneficial for the entire employee and employer. In addition, it does really help with some of those entry-level positions, moving in some new applicants, helping use that assessment as well to hire external applicants that are still going to represent that skill set they're looking for to really have the culture match and the skill match that will make them successful and help with the retention numbers that we know are so important to a business's success. So I'm not going to go extensive, but I would like to, if you are an employer who's interested in maybe getting in, looking at where are those pain points within your organization, where are those gaps within your current career pathways, what different maybe training programs or coaching services are available that we can bring into your organization to purposely target employees that you would like to keep and move up. Okay? So thank you for your time, and I'm now going to move on to introducing Robin Burnett, who's working with the Colorado Department of Labor and Employment.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Robin Burnett, and I'm here with Lindsay Beringer, and we are from the Colorado Department of Labor and Employment. And you must forgive me, I am not a public speaker, and everybody has been fantastic that I've heard before me. So Lindsay and I are here today to talk about the WorkShare program, which is a form of unemployment insurance that gives employers the options of reducing employees' hours instead of cutting their workforce during a business slowdown. It allows employees to keep working, but with fewer hours. And while your employees are working fewer hours, we pay part of the regular unemployment benefits, which is up to 26 weeks. The advantages to utilizing this program: the employers are able to continue their production and quality levels by keeping your experienced staff, which helps you come back to full production when your business is ramping back up, lessens your costs in hiring and training new employees, your employee morale stays high, and your employees keep their skills. Qualifying employers must have a positive % of excess, which means that they have paid more in premiums than their former employees have received in benefits. They must be applying in the program. They must be applying to be in the program instead of laying off their employees. And they may be reducing at least 2 employees in a certain unit that they would have laid off instead. And they must be reducing the work of that group from 10% to 40%. Your employees, they have to file a claim and have earned enough benefits, have earned enough money to receive unemployment benefits. They can only be on one plan at a time, and they must meet all the requirements of the law for us to pay those benefits. And they must be able and available to work during their normal work hours. They are not required to look for work, and they are not required to apply with another employer. And so to put this into a real-life example, Oregon Aero is a real company who used the WorkShare program. They are a small family-owned manufacturer whose products include all types of aircraft seating systems, aviation headgear, and portable cushion systems. The company's largest customers are the government law agencies. Oregon Aero's 60-person workforce designs, tests, and manufactures all of its products at its facility. In April 2013, facing declining sales and uncertainties due to the impact of the federal budget sequestration, the company determined it needed to reduce about 20% of its labor costs. This posed an unprecedented challenge, and the CEO stated, "Our employees are highly skilled, specialized, and experienced. Because we have invested a lot of time and money in their training, and they are extremely productive and hard to replace, as a result, we knew how difficult and expensive it would be when we would eventually come out of the economical downturn and had to recruit and train employees and replace those lost due to the temporary layoff. So the solution for them was to utilize the WorkShare program during the business slowdown. The company's HR manager stated the benefits are enormous. We preserve valued employees, talent, and experience while workers maintain fringe benefits and employment status with a minor differential in pay in the form of prorated unemployment insurance. We did not lay off a single worker during the downturn and ramped back up easily when the business returned to its former levels. It may not be the answer for every business, but for employers who expect a downturn to be temporary and who want their workforce to emerge strong and intact on the other side, it is an invaluable option. The one thing that I do want to know is on the resource sheet, it says that this is for seasonal employers, and seasonal employers are not cannot apply for this program. It's usually every other employer if they're going to look at a business downturn. So this is just a really high level program because, as you know, with government programs, they can be a little bit complicated. So we are happy to discuss individual circumstances in greater depth if you have questions. Thank you for your time today. And I will be introducing Holly Stevenson from the Rocky Mountain Employee Ownership Center. And I'm sorry if I butchered that.
Well, I guess it's nice to go last. I represent the Rocky Mountain Employee Ownership Center. My name is Halisi Benson, and we take a little bit different approach. So what we believe is that the way to eliminate the income and wealth gap is through employee ownership. We believe that the way to stave off the negative impact of gentrification is through employee ownership. We believe that the way to build strong local economies is through employee ownership. So we don't talk about jobs so much as we talk about ownership. I don't know about you, but when I graduated from college in the late 80s, it was an interesting time. The economy was doing well, and yet I've been laid off about 80 to 90% of all the jobs I've ever had. 80 to 90%, which is ridiculous. My mom does not understand that. She's like, why can't you work someplace for 30 years? Because that doesn't exist anymore. And so one of the biggest issues that the workforce is facing is job instability, right? Job instability eliminates the accumulation of wealth. That's what we know. The other thing that we know is that we are fast approaching the apex of the silver tsunami. And for those of you who don't know what that is, baby boomers own about $10 trillion worth of business assets. And they are in the midst of retiring. And so I think I read at this, that from the CBO that we're going to reach a point where we have more small businesses closing than we have buyers ready to buy. And so in order to kind of reverse the negative impact of that, we suggest that privately held, even public companies as well, but closely held, privately held companies sell to their employees. Usually this can be done with no money out of the employee's pocket. So for instance, I am helping a preschool right now convert. And so we're going to have a teacher-owned preschool here in the Denver metro area. And this kind of thing is happening all across the country. I didn't mention that we are one of 7 state centers in the United States that promotes employee ownership. And so what we do for frontline employees is once the owner has decided that this is an option for them, then we come in and educate the employees on frontline employees, all employees actually, to think about, you know, what do they need to know about the business of the business, right? And so we do training sessions, we do workshops, we hold their hands for up to 2 to 3 years, and we teach the employees how to think like owners. The preschool that I just mentioned, we had a planning session about a week ago, and it was very interesting to see teachers kind of change their make a paradigm shift in how they thought about their workplace and actually start to look at the financials, look at that surplus, that net income, to see how they individually could affect that. You know, are there things that they can do to create a longer waiting list? Obviously with preschools there's a lot of regulations and they can only have so many kids per class, right? But can they create that waiting list, thereby increasing demand where they can raise their prices? Can they eliminate waste? You know, are they, you know, what are they doing to actually affect that bottom line? And so those are the kind of skill sets that are so transferable from job to job. Our goal is that within 10 years, 30% of Colorado employees will actually own their job. I'm going to end with a very sexy story. Oh, concerning layoffs, I forgot to mention, employee-owned businesses lay off in general, especially during the last recession, 4 times less employees. So I said it better when I talked to you. So during the recession, worker co-ops specifically were 4 times less likely to lay off employees. But employee ownership in general, because there's a lot of different versions of it, during the last recession, 3% of traditionally run companies laid off employees, compared to 0.07% of employee-owned companies. Even partially owned employee-owned companies, like Chobani, I think I saw Chobani here. That's a publicly traded company, and yet I think 20 to 30% of the company is owned by their employees. Those companies were even less likely to lay off employees. Employee-owned businesses hire 25% more. Employees of employee-owned businesses make 12 to 18% more. They have 25% higher sales. I have more information. This is the wave of the fan, so I hope that you will come and get more information from me. But lastly, what I wanted to say was there's an employee-run grocery store chain out of the Northwest called Wen Hua, and they have checkers that will retire with 7 figures in their retirement account. So employees of employee-owned businesses retire with about 2.5 times as much money in their retirement accounts as antiquatedly run companies. So that's Rocky Mountain Employee Ownership Center. We have a huge convening on Wednesday. We're bringing in folks from out of town, and we'd love all of you to be there. Thank you.
Okay, thanks everyone. Can you give me a round of applause to all of our presenters today? Thank you for staying within your 5 minutes. Thank you for moving smoothly. I've never seen it go like that before. And I have to say, it was kind of like a little bit of speed dating, right? So you got to hear a little bit of tidbit of, what's available and some of those resources and work incentives that are out there. Hopefully you heard some things that are of interest. Maybe you want to, someone or a program caught your eye, you want to wink at them, you'll have it after this meeting. So I just want to remind you that for those of you who are on the webinar, we have been monitoring the chat box. If you had questions, I'll follow up with you directly and make sure that we connect you to the appropriate person. For those of you in the room, we're going to close this out in the next few minutes, and hopefully you'll have about another 10 minutes if you want to go ahead and interact with each other and follow up with questions. But really want to thank you all for being here today. I also want to give a shout out to JoyLab, our communications partners, who have made sure that our technology has been running smoothly all day. We really appreciate all of your support. The other thing I just want to say real quickly is whether you're in the room or online, you will be receiving a very quick survey that is about 30 seconds long. Really want to ask you to complete earlier. This is part 2 of a 12-part series. And so we want to make sure that we're addressing your needs. So if there's topics that are of interest to you around innovative workforce incentives or supports, let us know so we can focus on that. Interestingly enough, based on our last speaker, our next webinar is actually scheduled for March 27th at 11 a.m. Mountain Time. And it's actually focused on employee stock ownership programs. And so we'll be hearing from Ken Baker, the CEO of New Age Industries. He actually founded his company and transitioned it into an ESOP program. So you're going to hear his perspective of what it means as a CEO and how he saw it transform his workforce. And then he's actually going to bring on board one of his team leaders to talk about how it shifted kind of his team and how their employees were thinking about gain sharing and being part of that company. So I think it'll be really interesting and a good segue from our last presenter. So with that, I want to again thank you all for starting your Friday morning with us, and enjoy the rest of your day.